Hello guys, today we are going to listen stories about taxi incidents.
Taxi driver tried to kidnap my sister and I. When I was younger, my family would take yearly trips to my grandparents' country for a few weeks. They live in a major city and it was always fun to visit. This incident happened about 14 years ago. A few days after we arrived at the city, a few of our cousins invited one of my sisters, and I to lunch at a very well-known restaurant. We have been doing this for a few years already, and it was our little tradition. They were going to pick us up, but we told them to go ahead and we would meet them there, since the restaurant was further away from them than us. And I go out to hail a taxi to take us. The first taxi we see is the one we take. But it gave me a bad vibe when I opened the door. I don't know how to explain it, but the interior looked different. It looked just like the main taxi service from that area, but the vehicle was an older model. I told Em and she thought I was being snotty. I wasn't, by the way, and she told me to get in or we would be late. She gets in first, and when I get in and make eye contact with the driver, it didn't feel right at all. Em tells him where we want him to take us. As we get in and put on our seatbelts, I notice his left shoulder drop a bit and then I hear the doors lock and he proceeded to drive. I look at him and ask him why he locked the doors. He stutters a bit and says it's an automatic feature of the vehicle, that doors lock when ignition is running and a door is opened and closed shut. I was going to call out his bullshit, my door wasn't even closed shut, but Em gives me a dirty look and whispers that I am being rude. I decided not to tell him about the door and just hold on to it for it to look closed, and I took off my seatbelt. About 3 blocks down, he turns onto a dead end. I tell him and he tells me, no it's not, I know where I am going. He turns and sure enough it is. He then has to turn around to get back to the street we were on. I ask him if he knows his way around. In a snarky tone he tells me he does and that he knows the city very well. Em looks at me now realizing something is off. I gesture for her to take off seatbelt and she unbuckles but holds it down like me for it to look like we still have it on. About 4 minutes later, seemed like hours, we turn on the major street where the restaurant is and it's only 2 blocks away. We are glad to see it, and to be honest, I started to feel like a jerk thinking maybe I was wrong after all. No, I wasn't. The restaurant was on the right side of us. We tell him to stop that he could drop us off there. Em hands the driver the cash, driver looks at it, looks at us and says, sit down, shut up or you'll regret it. He then does a sharp turn the opposite direction of the restaurant and tried to turn in a narrow street. A van driver cut him off, which brought us to a complete stop since van didn't make a wide enough turn and was stuck. I flung the door open, pulled Em by the arm and yell at her to run. We bolt out of taxi, the driver is trying to take off his seatbelt and starts yelling at us to get back in the car and starts chasing us. There are only about 3 vehicles that direction and really no one out on the street, but as soon as we get close to the restaurant, there are more cars and people. I'm still running when I turn and I noticed he stopped and is just giving us a dirty look, runs back to his taxi and takes off down the narrow street. We get to restaurant, find our cousins and we go back home. Once there, we tell our family what happened. My dad and uncles go to the taxi station to find out who this guy was. It turns out they have no idea who it was. When my dad told them about the vehicle, they told him they had stopped using those years prior since they had updated their fleet. After that, we stopped taking taxis and either drove ourselves or a relative would take us where we needed to go. To this day, we still have no idea who it was or what he wanted, but it's made me even more aware of my gut feelings.
Next is going to be insane.
TLDR. Narrowly avoided being sent to prison for 10 to 20 years for several drug crimes and instead paid minimum fines due to some quick thinking and taking a huge risk. Late to the party, but when I was in high school and the few years after, my primary source of income was selling pot. One day I was just hanging out at home with the GF. We went to the Circle K a few houses down and got some beer. The clerk, who I knew pretty well at this point, asked if he knew where I could get a dub sack. I said sure and that I'd be back soon. I go home and forget about it. An hour or two later I'm like, oh shit, remember, weigh it out and go back. He had already given me the money, very important detail for later, so I waited until he had no customers. He came out and we went around the icebox just smoking and chatting. I handed him the bag. Now there was no one around. Empty lot except for this beat-up Volvo facing the record store next door. If I had been paying better attention, I may have noticed this Volvo had completely tinted windows, which seemed odd to do on a beat-up Volvo. Two men get out of the car and approach us. One tall skinny guy wearing 100% denim and another guy who looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter in a beige sweater. They approach us and ask how we're doing. Me and Clerk look at each other like, "You know these guys?" Then all of a sudden the flash badges and yell, "EPD. You're under arrest," and cuff us, separate us and search us. Beige Dog goes through my texts, finds a couple dubious ones, a few crumpled up 20s, starts trying to get me to admit to doing a lot of business today, blah blah. Then they surprise me by walking me and my GF back to my porch, saying they've seen me come and go quite a bit and just want to make sure you don't have a pound of heroin in there, and they'll just charge me with a misdemeanor. Otherwise it will be jail and a felony. So here we are, on my front porch, me saying there's no way I will let them in my house and to call my lawyer over and over. At one point my roommate walks out, says hi, gets in his car and leaves. At this point, Dog explains that if I don't let him search the house, he's going to park a few squad cars on the lawn, extract everyone from the house and wait on a warrant, and they will charge everyone in the house with every little thing they find in any room. I now know this is not legal. Then I was just scared. My roommate that had just left was a total nerd with a great job. Straight edge. Rarely drank and never smoked or anything at all. I was terrified of him losing his job. Unfortunately for me, I had just had an opportunity to get a quaff of mushrooms at a steal of a deal. My area was super dried up on mushrooms at the time, so I asked around and basically had all my deals set before I got it. This timing was perfect because just 30 feet away on the coffee table of my bedroom was 1/4 of a lb of mushrooms, neatly weighted out into ounces and January 8ths. Top that with all the pot in there, it wasn't looking pretty. So, I proposed that I let one of them in to search just my bedroom and be done with it. I knew once I let them in they could do whatever, but I was out of options. Beige Dog agrees. Canadian Tuck stays with my GF, who looks terrified like, "W are you doing at me?" and Dog the Sweater Hunter enters with me. I lead him upstairs and walk right past my door, which thank God was closed, and into the straight edge guy's room. Dog completely turns it over. Takes out drawers. Turns the mattress over. The whole shebang. As he does this, I quietly turn off the computer monitor with a background of my roommate and his GF glaring on it. Guy finds nothing, sticks with his agreement and walks me and my shit-eating grin back downstairs. My GF, probably assuming I'm going to prison for many years, is looking like she's about to die, but I'm just grinning. Guy still fucking charged me with a felony. Then they leave. Long story short, paid a lot for a great attorney who was friends with the prosecutor. Since no money was seen to be exchanged, the charge was knocked down to deliverance of marijuana. The prosecutor recommended the minimum sentence. I paid an $121 fine, did 80 hours of community center at a local music venue, saw a ton of shows for free and retired from selling. God, I hope someone reads this.
That's it on today. Follow for more updates.